Hello there. Today, we're talking about probably the most popular form of physical activity in general population, running. I imagine that the vast majority of people who at some point have come to the conclusion that it's about time to start taking care of their fitness and health have decided to start running. Let's make it clear right from the start, because the title of the video may spark some controversy. I'm not saying that running is unhealthy, although it can be when taken to extreme, but that really can be said about almost any form of physical activity. I want to explain that running doesn't have as big of positive impact on people's health as they often imagine. Obviously, in general, any physical activity is better than none, and certainly if you start running, it will help improve your health if you've been sedentary so far. It's a good decision to make, but you could have made a much better one. Whenever I recommend that my patients and clients start to train, hands down the most common reaction is, but I don't have time. I got a job, family duties, and a bunch of other stuff. And I understand it. I don't usually dismiss it as an excuse. But that means that if we plan and decide on some form of training, we want it to be the most efficient, to get out of it as much as possible with as little time investment as possible. We don't have time for many different types of physical activity, so we pick one, the most significant one. Is it good that what usually gets picked in this scenario is running? If, for whatever reason, people were forced to do, and we, fitness experts, were forced to promote only one form of physical activity, it should always be strength training. Unfortunately, many of those supposed experts, including physical therapists, would disagree, claiming that your first priority should always be aerobic type of exercise, cardio, and that this is the most important for your health. That kind of approach only shows lack of understanding of general physiology and exercise physiology. Another thing that you can also often hear from physical therapists regarding physical activity is something along the lines, just pick what you enjoy. It doesn't really matter that much what you do, as long as you do something. This is complete nonsense. Again, sure, doing something is much better than doing nothing, but some forms of physical activity are definitely better in terms of positive impact on your health than others. And as the supposed experts on fitness and health, we should understand it and be able to explain it to our patients. For doctors, on the other hand, but not for all of them, of course, physical activity pretty much equals running, or long walks alternatively. It's like, in context of healthy physical activity, nothing else even exists. And the runners themselves are often convinced that because they run regularly, they are at the absolute peak of their health and fitness. This is very far from the truth, and I'll try to explain why. Running gives you two things. It improves your cardiorespiratory fitness, assuming though that you actually train running, so make progress over time. If you always run the same distance in a similar time, you don't improve anything anymore, you just maintain your performance. And it makes you better at running. That's it, just two things. Now you may argue that your cardiorespiratory fitness is quite important, and rightly so. But all you have to point out is that strength training also allows you to improve it, and anybody who has ever done an actually heavy set of 5 squats knows that very well. But besides that, strength training has much broader, more complex positive impact on your health and fitness, and provides more benefits than just improved cardio output, as it is the case with running. In this video, I've covered the health benefits of strength training in greater detail. To put it simply, strength training provides everything that running does, and much more, of which running will never provide. To put it in terms of motor skills, running is associated with endurance. Improving your strength improves your endurance, but improving your endurance has no impact on your strength. You can often hear a claim, though, that people who primarily train for strength because of their increased size and muscle mass somehow have difficulty running. This is completely false and makes no sense anyway. I guess by that same logic, a bigger engine slows the car down because it makes it bigger and heavier. There is not a single person on this planet who is generally healthy, who can deadlift 400 pounds, squat 300, press 200, who can't also run 5 miles. It just doesn't occur. Being strong allows you to run. But running doesn't make you stronger. And you should already know that you need to be stronger. So what do? Do you run, or do you focus on getting stronger? It seems like an obvious choice. As I've already explained on several occasions, by being stronger, having more muscle mass, you have greater general capacity for force production, and any physical task becomes easier for you. Running is catabolic in nature, so that means in the long run it's going to promote reduction of muscle mass, because endurance is on the opposite end of the physical adaptation spectrum to strength. That is why, contrary to common wisdom, running ultimately doesn't strengthen anything. It doesn't strengthen your joints, it doesn't strengthen your leg muscles. At the very beginning, maybe a little bit, yes, but that is just the so-called newbie effect, which means if you haven't been doing any physical activity so far, then doing anything will strengthen your entire body a bit. But that is such a small and short-lasting effect that it's not worth considering. I've also mentioned before, in context of strength training, that even sets of more than 10 reps are pretty much more of an endurance effort than strength effort. So just think how running fits into that, while even during a 15-minute run, you're doing hundreds of reps, since each step is one rep. When you look at a typical physique of a person who runs regularly, you see that they're skinny, they have very little muscle mass, but also very little body fat, which makes the muscle shape well defined. This gives a false impression of strength and health. But in reality, there is nothing more frail and fragile than a tiny skinny man, especially older men. And elderly people are also often being told that their primary focus should be aerobic type of exercise. If such a man contracts a serious disease, like severe pneumonia, his body doesn't have the strength or resources for a long process of fighting it. And because of his light, skinny build, any fall or bumping into something may result in a serious fracture. And a person over the age of 70 who gets admitted to a hospital with a broken hip usually never leaves the hospital. In such scenarios, those healthy heart and lungs that you got from running won't be of any use. We need to finally get rid of this idea in society that by being lean, you're automatically healthy. It is absolutely not true. People are in poor health not only and not even primarily because of their poor cardiorespiratory fitness, but because of lack of strength and muscle mass, and the running isn't an answer to that. People don't die just from heart attacks and strokes, and even if these conditions are your primary concern, then strength training is going to be equally and probably even more effective in preventing them. Let's make it really clear. Contrary to how it may sound, I'm not trying to discourage you from running. I understand that plenty of people simply enjoy it, and I get it, because I used to love it myself, and in fact I probably still do, and I sometimes regret not having time or energy I could spare for it. If you simply enjoy running, great, that's still 100 times better than just sitting on the couch. But I also know that plenty of people think of running as the pinnacle of fitness and healthy physical activity. I just want you to understand that this is very far from the truth. I'm just gonna say it again. If for whatever reason you could do only one form of physical activity, it should always be strength training. But if you can afford to run on top of that or do some other form of aerobic type exercise, well, great, that's probably even better than strength training alone. But from what I see and hear from my patients, people usually don't have enough time or energy to do it all. So maintain proper perspective on running. It is not a holy grail of fitness like it is often imagined.